Hi, thanks for watching our Informational 101 video. The information on here is prerequisite for our preschool and kindergarten classes at Avery Animal Hospital, but also if you have an adult dog, there'll be some good information on there as well. And if you have questions, there is going to be a short survey at the end of our video. Fill that out if you have questions, but then also if you'd like to sign up for our preschool or kindergarten classes, go to the link at the bottom of your screen below the video and just fill that out, and then I'll get back with you as far as signing up or answering your questions. So, hi, my name's Peyton. I've been a veterinary technician for 8 years. I have been working with these classes for about 6.5 years now. Went to Purdue University for extra information classes that you could take to help with behavior stuff in your own vet office, but then also if you wanted to teach classes like this. And then I'm also attending continuing education just to make sure that I'm able to keep up on information. And then if I have questions on stuff that happens, then I'll know where to go. So to start, our puppy preschool classes, they're here in our lobby. Those are for puppies that are from 8 weeks up to about 16 weeks of age. You want to have your puppy complete 4 weeks in a row. If you have to miss a week, that's fine. We just might repeat a theme that we go over. Each week does have a different theme. One's in our lobby. We work on costumes, making ourselves look different. One works with obstacles. There's one where we work in the back and show you everything that goes on behind the scenes. So we want to try to get 4 weeks in a row. If you have to miss one, that's fine. You just let us know and we'll work with you. In preschool, we start class with a playtime, so the puppies get to learn how to positively interact with each other, and they learn what's a good play and what's a not a good play. And then we have our socialization in the middle, play at the end, and then we have questions every time during the week. These classes are also a good association with the hospital. So if your puppy only ever comes in for vaccines, sometimes they can associate the place as being not so good. But there's also that good side effect of class where they can come in and expect fun times every time it happens. Those classes are every Wednesday at 6:30. Once you've finished this video and filled out that survey, we can start you that next week that next Wednesday that comes up. Now the kindergarten classes that we have, those are 4 weeks as well, but they are consecutive because each week we build on what we learned the week before. Those are here every Thursday. They're about an hour long for each kind of class, and we work on basic manners training. So what that is like working with sit, loose leash walking, leave it, laying down, stuff like that. We work with clickers, which I'll go over what a clicker is in a little bit. In this class, as well as the other class, homework is definitely required for success in your home. With kindergarten, we usually tell you to try to at least block out like 2 10-minute sessions a day. If you can get more, great. If you feel like your puppy can't even make it 10 minutes, cut it short. Just work with them in small increments. We also have supervised play in this class, but it's at the end. They're a little older. They have to earn the playtime this time. So we'll get them in, working, and then play. These again are on Thursdays at 6:30. Once you have completed preschool, if you go on to kindergarten, there is a discount for doing so. The play sessions, as I mentioned, are just here in our lobby. The puppies get to all be off leash and just play together. A lot of times puppies will come from litters and they'll be playing, with 5 to 10 different types of, different puppies, but they're all raised together. They're generally the same type of dog, specific breed, not mixes. But it's also good for them to, as they grow up, learn how to interact with other puppies or dogs that they've not met before, and then learn what's appropriate. So like we've got a lab puppy that grows up just running around and jumping on everybody's head. Then you get the little bitty nervous maybe poodle puppy that has not ever dealt with that, and that won't be acceptable play between the two of them. So we work on that during our playtime. The play styles that you might see from your puppy in class, we've got real easygoing. Those are the puppies that are accepting of everything. They don't really care what happens. Really timid puppies would be like the little Chihuahua here, real nervous, shaking, maybe won't get out of your lap to start with. And then we've got overstimulated, which is the class clown. He's the one running around, jumping on everybody, just being goofy. Not trying to be offensive, just being goofy. So what we do is we tell you, don't worry if you come the first day and maybe your puppy's really scared, don't worry about that. We work their confidence up to at least be accepting of the situation. Now on that note, we don't expect all puppies to love everybody. If we can get that nervous puppy at least on the floor and okay with watching everybody else, that's a big step. Your puppy's personality are going to be determined by 3 different things. So starting off, genetics, what they were predisposed to just with their genes. But then through early socialization, getting them used to everything and exposed to a lot of stuff, they can change a little bit. And then learning process as they get older, you're basically teaching them to be a well-mannered dog. With breed characteristics, a lot of times we get our puppies for grooming, how big they're going to be and how much energy they have. But it's also a really good idea to see maybe what they were originally bred to do. So you can see maybe what kind of characteristics will come out as they get older. An example is terriers. They were meant and bred to dig in the earth to get animals out, like small animals. So with those, you might have a few more holes in your yard. But it's interesting just to look at these different things, maybe see what your dog was, maybe see some things that you want to redirect their attention from as they're getting older. Your puppy's developmental stages. From birth to 7 weeks, they're basically just worried about where warmth is, the food, and stuff like that. Your socialization stage is going to overlap that a bit. It's from 5 weeks to 16 weeks of age. During this time, they're little sponges. They're taking in everything that they encounter in the world, that they experience, and they're putting it away in their little memory banks. So let's say if they were to experience something really traumatic at like 10 weeks old or something, if they don't experience that again and they're not socialized with it, worked on it, when they become 2 or 3 years old, if that thing is brought back up, they can have another fear experience from that because they'll just remember, ooh, that thing was not so good when I was a puppy. There's a fear period in here that behaviorists have blocked out. Those you generally don't see as a puppy owner because you're usually getting your puppy. So of course they're going to be a little bit more hesitant on things because they're in your new environment. Your juvenile stage goes from 4 to 6 months, and then adolescence goes from 6 months to about 2 to 3 years, depending on your puppy and how they develop as they get older. During this time frame, you will see that second fear period. What happens there is if you get your puppy home and they've gone over the same doormat to go in and out of your house, and then all of a sudden at 2 years old, they look at it like the mat's going to bite them. That's a normal thing to maybe happen. Don't think, oh, you're a silly puppy, and drag them. Just take it back baby steps, encourage them through. You might also see things like if they've done sit for you. You ask them to sit, they do it. Again, the 1 or 2 year mark, you ask your puppy to sit and they kind of look at you like, well, why? You work them back through it, and just keep in mind it only lasts a couple of weeks if you work them through it. Socialization stage is a very critical period during which everything that they experience is going to shape who they become. So if you've got a puppy in a household that is real nervous and everything is fast going, in their face, really fast movement, they might grow up to be a very nervous dog, very sheltered, not wanting to be out and going and maybe even leave your house. During this period, it's an opportunity to prevent future behavior problems. So in socialization, you're showing them what to do, what not to do. And then lack of socialization actually can show up as a traumatic experience in the future. I experienced this personally because one of my dogs, I got her as a puppy. I never wear hats until the winter. When the winter came around, I put my hat on, and she hit the floor and ran away and hid from me as if I was a new monster. But it was just all in the hat. Took the hat off, and then she was like, oh, whew, that hat was scary. So if you experience something like that, it's not too late. Just keep in mind, oh, something about me must be different, or something about this situation my dog never experienced, so I need to just show them what's going on. If you've got a good base of socialization and easing them into stuff, they're going to be a lot more accepting of new things in the future and to work on it with you. With exposure for your puppies or new dogs to your house, you cannot over-socialize. You want to ensure that your puppy experiences at least 1 to 2 new things a day. And that can be anything from like sound, movement, objects. So let's say with this clicker, if they've never experienced the clicker, you could just hold it out to them and show them, oh, look, here you go. Give them a treat. Associate it that it's good. That's one thing. You could then drop it on a surface so you've got movement and you've got the sound. So those are 3 things essentially with just one object. just to give you a rough idea of how to work on it. It should be fun and positive. So if something falls on the ground and they get really scared and jump back, just jump in there and just be like, oh, it's okay, no big deal, and encourage them to come check it out. That's going to get them used to a lot of things. Pots and pans are really good. They make a lot of big noise. So if you can get them used to that, then they're pretty much accepting of a lot of noises. Closely supervise all interactions, especially with unknown dogs and children. What happens there is if you were to just say, oh, puppy, go play with this dog. Well, if that dog doesn't like puppies, they might snap at your puppy and injure it. And then you've got the fearful puppy that'll be a little bit more difficult to work with other dogs. And we want to learn to watch their body language, learn what their body language is showing us. So signs for their body language that they would be afraid of something are going to be these different things. You got ears down, tail tucked. Usually those two together are the starting ones to say, I'm really nervous about this. And then what happens is if the scary thing doesn't stop, they'll go on to barking, hiding, shaking. Growling and snapping usually are the last ditch effort, but once they do that, if the scary thing stops, the next time they go straight, they put all of these signs all in together. So all that you'll notice is the growling, but we want to work them through it. If we see those ears and tails go down, think, okay, what about this is so scary? How can I work with my puppy? Signs of emotional conflict. So this is signs that your dog or your puppy is really nervous about something. They're trying to trust you to get through it, but they're really still nervous about it. Unfortunately, we do see this in the vet office because, we'll be honest, medical stuff is nobody's cup of tea, so not even for our dogs. But if we see these things here in appointments, we also then try to work them through it. We have treats here. We have you as the owner holding if it makes the dog more comfortable, things like that. So these are just different things that we see. Yawning. Dogs do still yawn if they're tired, but this would be like a big over-exaggerated yawn, usually followed by shifting eyes. Licking. This is a lick of just a very small bit of the tongue coming out and going back in. It's not going to be like when they're licking their lips when they're hungry. And then with puppies, we've got scratching at yourself. If it's with a puppy, it's usually because they're kind of conflicted with that collar. It's nothing different than that. If it's an adult dog, we start thinking about what's stressing your dog. And if your puppy ever does not want to eat in a situation, take it back. Think, okay, we need to get out of the situation, reassess, and then go back to it. They should always want to eat something as puppies, even if their bellies are full. Adult dogs are a little bit different, but we want to just up the ante on the treats if that happens. So determining what is so scary about the situation. So again, all these different things, the distance, speed, all those things. One example I like to give people is the greeting. I was always taught growing up that you go up to a dog head on, put your hand in front of their face, and then you let them sniff you. Well, for a nervous dog, that makes me look like a monster. I look like this crazy big creature coming into your puppy's face and grabbing at him, or dog. So that works with some dogs, but not a lot. If you notice that your puppy in that situation is nervous, or a dog that you're trying to pet, it's real simple. You just turn your body, so now you're not facing directly at them, so right away they're going to calm down. Squat down so you're a little bit more on their level, and just kind of put your hand out for them to smell. If they don't come up to you right away, that's fine. Just wait a couple minutes, 5, 10, 20, whatever it takes for that puppy or that dog to get more comfortable, and eventually they'll come up to you, and then you can give them some treats to say, yes, I am a good person, keep coming over to me, and work them up that way. So with modifying the environment, if they're afraid of something, you want to use treats, treats, treats. Think of treats as like the money you get for going to work. It's going to be their incentive to check things out, and then when they're getting that, it's making their brains happy in association with that thing. However, whenever we say treats, little bitty, teeny tiny pea-sized treats. We don't want to make our puppies too pudgy, or our dogs, so we want to give them little bitty pieces here and there. They don't need the full milk bone to say, oh, you looked at it, good job. You want to give them little short messages that they did the right thing. With something scary, you don't want to coddle your puppy. So resist the urge to pick them up and go, oh, I know, that was so scary. Because all that's teaching your puppy is every time something scary happens, I need to jump into mom's lap or dad's lap. And if you've got a dog that's going to be over 30 pounds, that can be really heavy and hard and scratching, so it'll hurt a lot. But then in turn, don't force your puppy up to something scary. I was taught before I got into positive reinforcement that I should just drag my dog up to the object that was terrifying him, which happened to be a rock in the yard. I didn't get it. I thought it was silly. So the trainer I worked with said just drag him up to him, show it's a rock, and there'll be no big deal. With my dog, that didn't work because I dragged him up there, and then every time after that, if we went by this rock, he would pee and then throw himself to the end of the leash like he was even more terrified. And with that situation, I likened it to myself because I'm terrified of snakes. And if you put one in my face, I'm not going to love it anymore. So think of it that way with your puppy. You want to work on them slowly with it. It's best if the puppy goes up to the object and checks it out on their own. And the next time it'll be no problem. Your puppy will be okay with it. Progressing slowly and practicing it again. So again, let them come up to the situation. So if they were afraid of me as the greeter, again, changing myself and then just waiting for the puppy to come up to me. If once they come up to me, the next time I come over, they're going to be a lot more accepting of me. So also on an object, if they're afraid of, let's say, that doormat in front of your door, getting them to go up to it by little treat trails every couple of inches is going to be really good because they're getting the treat, they're getting the treat, they're getting the treat, and then all of a sudden they get to the mat and they're like, oh, this thing's not so bad. And then you want to practice that again. So the next week think, okay, I hope my puppy's still okay with this. With puppies, usually they're great. They're fine. You just walk them back by and they're like, oh, I remember this mat was fine. With a dog, you might need to work a little bit longer on it, but kind of the same steps. And if you have problems, just give us a call. So these are some examples of dog body languages, of photos of them. So this is what more of a relaxed dog would look like. Tail's in normal position, kind of panting, hanging out. No big tense muscles or anything like that. The dog that's on alert is going to be more at attention, real stiff, rigid, tail's going to be up, ears are going to be perked forward. You'll also maybe see a little bit of this hair standing up on the dog's back. That means a lot of adrenaline's pumping. And you want to intervene in that situation just to make sure that those dogs calm down. Because what could happen is if they're in this body position and let's say another dog bumps into them, they could overreact and bite at them. And we don't want that obviously to happen. So you just want to take this puppy or dog away, give it a break, wait till that hair goes down, and then let them go back to playtime. And we do sometimes see that in our playtimes here. This is what more of a fearful or submissive dog would look like. So they're crouching down, tail tucked, their eyes are big, ears flattened down. This is what, the first start of looking really scared. And then the final fear submission pose is on their back. You might see a little bit of submissive urination in this time too. Big keys to watch for here when they're on their back is the tail and then those ears flat to their head. What you might see as they get older is they also love to have their belly scratched. So if they're on their back, the tail's flopped out and their ears are just back and they're being goofy, then it's fine. They're not afraid, obviously. Now if I was to go up to a dog that was doing this and I wanted to pet it, what you would want to do in that situation is take a couple steps back, turn, squat to the ground, and put your hands out. Same greeting, and usually they'll get up and slither up to you and you can give them a treat then. Now, the defensive aggression, so this is a dog that starts off really afraid of something, but then is like, well, I'm going to have to take care of business if the scary thing keeps happening. So we've kind of got that hunched down body posture, hiding away, ears are down, tail's tucked, showing off all those teeth just to really try to scare the scary thing away. And the offensive aggression dog is more forward moving, barking, lunging, tail's going to be up, maybe some hackles, the hair on the shoulders. And obviously we don't want our puppies or dogs to get to this point, so that's why you're going to learn their body language, listen to it, and work them through stuff. Now, communication between dogs. This is what it might look like with a puppy going up to an adult dog. What you want to do here, even if the adult dog seems to be okay with it, is take that puppy away, give it something else to do, but then tell that adult dog, good job, give them a treat. It's basically saying, thank you for not biting my puppy for being in your face. This, however, is more of an appropriate first greeting between dogs. They usually sniff the back ends, circle, and then Usually they're fine. They either walk away from each other or go into play. And then this symbol you might have already started seeing if you got your puppy. This is a play bow. This is basically your puppy's way of saying, I'm about to be goofy and jump on you. So we definitely see that a lot of times in play. Little introduction to training. We work with positive reinforcement here. So examples are like the clicker, the lures, verbal praise, stuff like that. There are methods out there of punishment and force-based training. These are some of the examples: choke chains, shock collars, stuff like that. With that type of method, you do start getting a fear side effect, and that actually slows down the learning process of your dog, and they don't want to continue learning or investigating anything else. So you'd have more difficulty in the future working with your dog. It also makes, well, in my situation, I used to take classes in punishment and force-based. I noticed that I was more tense, and I just always was upset. Why does my dog not get this? And when I'd pull out the choke chain, my dog would run and hide because he just didn't like that situation. Outside of class, great. In class, we were both real tense and upset. With positive reinforcement, you're working toward a goal. Your puppies want to work more with you. If you want to do more complex training things later, they're going to be all about it because they're knowing this is fun. I can put things together and get more reward for it. And with clickers, you will have slowed timing because it takes a while to get used to the mechanics of clicking the right time, treating the right time. But you'll get it, and your puppy, you get to say, oh, whoops, I made a mistake if you accidentally click them, and you give them a treat. So you're still having a good time yourself, and your puppy is having a great time because you got a treat for your mistake. But those are a little bit about training. So now, clicker training. A clicker is a marker, makes a little click noise. It's the same sound and intensity every time, so there's no emotion behind it like there would be with your own voice. It clicks the actual moment that the right behavior happened. So it's a little bit faster than using your words. Let's say your puppy, you're teaching it sit. You go down, you say, sit puppy, and when the puppy sits, by the time you reach down and say, good job, it maybe runs away and goes and chews on a sock or something. So there's a little delay in time, so your puppy's gonna be like, was chewing the sock the good thing, or was the sitting, the sitting couldn't have been it. I do that all the time. So the click just kind of delays that delay in learning process there. Now what happens with the clicker, you tell them to sit, their butt hits the floor, right then you get the click, and then you give them a treat. So they start to work on it. Now once you get that behavior down, like if you don't care if they do a sit and hold it, but after like 40 times you get a sit and you click and treat, you don't have to use the clicker anymore. It's basically just to start behaviors off, and then they've got it. It's not a lifelong thing that you have to have attached to you all the time, unless you want to start working on new behaviors. Imperfect timing, which again I mentioned you will have when starting with it, it might slow things a little bit because your puppy's like, well, where was that click and what was it for? But they're still working with you. They still kind of get it. It's close enough. So we just work on the timing with you in class. It's a way for humans to talk to dogs, but it's also a way for humans to talk to chickens, cats, fish, stuff like that. At like SeaWorld, they have the dolphins and stuff, you use the whistle, same concept. If you want to go, I always tell people to go to YouTube, just type in clicker training, and then put whatever animal you want to look up, because there's always some video of somebody training their pig or something like that to do different things. It's really interesting. Again, click marks the correct behavior, and dogs actually start thinking it's a game. What I've been hearing is every time you use a clicker, the people will go to get it out and their puppy starts offering different things like, ooh, shake, sit, roll over, because they know that they're about to get treats and they know that this click means it's a good thing that's coming on. Brief problem with punishment are these things here on the board. We're human. Basically, we can't do punishment without having the side effect of that fear, and it breaks down the human-animal bond, so again, your puppy won't want to work with you as much. Forget the alpha term. That is something that has come up in popularity with our pet dogs in the past, I'd say maybe 20 years. It's a term that came from a very poorly done wolf study back in, I believe, the 50s. First mistake there is our dogs are not wolves. They have not been wolves for thousands of years. They've been bred down to be our companions. So mentally, they can't even get to the capacity of an adult wolf. So they can't do that. They're just trying to do whatever works for them at the time. And with puppies, you just want to work on being consistent and predictable. Be like your puppy parent. You can't be alpha over your dog because there's a whole body language thing that goes on. You've got 2 legs, no fur, and you have words. You're talking to them. So in the true alpha term, that doesn't work out. So just think of it as being your puppy parent. So puppy parent responsibilities. We want to work on being fair. Dogs are not human. They are their own species. They're all these different things. They're amoral, so they won't think twice about cleaning themselves in front of company. They're selfish. If you've got 2 dogs and 10 toys, each dog's going to want all 10 of those toys. And they're highly social. That's how we've chosen them to be our companions throughout the years. In the dog world, eat whatever you find. Anything that's enticing, take it in. Relieve yourself on absorbent surfaces. If you are having potty training problems with your puppy or dog, and they're in the crate with a bed and maybe some soft toys, take those out, because sometimes they will continue to want to pee on something that'll soak it up. So that would be the first step, I would say, taking those things out. See if that helps cut down the urination in the crate. Definitely get help as soon as possible. So if you get your puppy or dog home and they pee in the crate like 2-3 days in a row, let us know, because we need to work on that quick. Stay close to resource provider, which is us as the owners. And anything makes for a great play or chew toy. And that is anything that your puppy can think of, or dog. And they love to join in making noise. We want to focus on being good teachers. So control the environment as if you would for a kid. Plugs and things, covering up wires, stuff like that, so they can't get to them. Don't leave socks around on the floor. Make sure they make it into a hamper or basket. Focus more attention on rewarding good behavior within 1 second or so. So if they're chewing on their toy, don't think, oh good, thank goodness they're not chewing on me. Take the time to go over there and pet them, maybe give a couple treats or something. Not a big deal, just real quick, good job, and walk away. Don't really waste all your time telling them what not to do, because if all you're telling them is, no, don't do this, don't chew on that, don't pee on the carpet, then you're not really showing them what's appropriate to do. Now, obviously, if they're peeing on the carpet or chewing on something, you want to distract them, so get them away from it, but then take them and show them what's appropriate or where is appropriate. And then always, always, always get help early if problems arise. Consistency is extremely important with puppies and dogs. Get a schedule. Get everybody on the same page in your household. Just make sure everything is going well, and you will have a really smooth sailing start of life with your new puppy or dog. So problem solving. If instinct is driving a behavior, you want to prevent and manage the situation. So examples I have here are stealing food from plates. Just always keep your plate out of reach. Don't leave it unattended. If you've got a puppy or a dog that's going to be a little bit bigger, or you think might be able to reach on the counter, put your plate back farther, or maybe put it on top of the refrigerator. Maybe ideas of drinking out of the toilet. Just always make sure that the lid's closed. They don't know that that's where you go to the bathroom. They just know that that's a big bowl of water. And then trash can rating's a really big thing. Just maybe hide it under a cabinet like the example here, or you can get ones with lids. If you've got a puppy that jumps up and pushes it, you can put bricks or something in the bottom of the trash can and then the bag over that. And that usually prevents that from happening too. Ignoring the behavior. So if your puppy or dog is doing something that is to get your attention, you want to ignore that behavior. That's going to be your strongest tool to get these things to stop. One strong example is the jumping up. Dogs always want to greet people, and we always want to give in and go, oh, hi, I love you, you're so sweet. You want to break those things, because even if it doesn't hurt you, think about maybe a guest that comes over in a nice outfit, or if you have to go out in a nice outfit, you don't want your dog jumping on you. Or if you have like a grandparent come over or a little kid, you don't want your dog to jump on those people either. So how you work on that, just make sure everybody in this puppy's life is doing this. You just want, if the puppy jumps up or dog jumps up on you, just stand and turn away and ignore them. Act like they don't exist. Don't say anything, don't move, just ignore it. When puppies all 4 feet are on the back on the floor, then you reach down and give them attention. But if the puppy then jumps back up, then you jump back up too. Make sure to tuck your fingers in, because if it's a puppy, they might then start chewing on your fingers to get attention. Now, that being said, when you're on a walk, if you're walking your puppy on leash and somebody comes up and says, oh, hey, how's your walk going? If your puppy goes to jump on that person, you need to tell that person, please ignore my puppy until they're standing on all 4 feet. Because what happens there is no amount of you pulling on the leash, telling them no jump, get down, sit, that is not going to break the drive for them to jump up to get attention from that person. So that person and everybody in this puppy's life needs to ignore them until they're on the floor. If everybody's able to do that with puppies, pretty much breaks in a week, if everybody's really strong with it. With adult dogs, it might take a little bit longer. My mom had a Labradoodle that we adopted from a shelter a couple years ago, and her nickname's Leaping Lizard, so if that tells you anything. But she's a big dog, so it took a while for us to be able to break that habit. And now she's good at it, and we don't have a 70-pound dog jumping on our backs. But any of these things, if your puppy is looking at you and doing something to get your attention, you want to ignore that as strong and as long as you can. Now with interrupting and substituting, if it's something that's self-rewarding for that puppy or dog, like barking out the window or chewing on something, you want to distract them away from it, interrupt them, get them into something different to do, and then reward it. So if they're chewing on a table leg, hey, what are you doing? Come over here. Distract them away, give them something to chew on that's maybe the same consistency of what they were chewing on before, and then reward them with, tug it a little bit, maybe throw it and have fetch, or just drop some treats by it when they're chewing on it. Examples of problem solving with play biting. Play biting is extremely common and extremely painful. So with this, you want to, preventing and managing for this situation, don't use your hands and don't use clothing as toys. Sometimes people will tie up old socks. The puppy can't tell the difference between the toy sock and the socks you want to keep. And then also supervise children. With that, the puppies might take it overboard and hurt the kid. The kid might not be able to read the puppy's body language of I'm getting too tired of this, and there might be still some biting there. So always supervise the puppy with kids. Don't leave them alone no matter what. Always be there. Interrupting and replacing for play biting, offer an appropriate chew toy. And then finally, if it's not working, your puppy will not stop biting you, you want to stand up and ignore, or you can implement timeout. So if you're ignoring and your puppy goes to like biting on your feet and stuff like that, pick your puppy up. Don't say anything to them. Don't tell them that they're bad. Just pick them up, walk over and put them maybe behind a baby gate or something, just so that they don't have the opportunity to keep biting at your feet and bothering you. Now, how that'll look is if you're playing with your puppy, you hold out a toy, they don't want to chew on that, they just want to rip up your arms and chew on your fingers and stuff. Keep putting that toy in their mouth, wiggle it around a lot, make it real interesting. Once they bite on it, pull a little bit, just keep it interesting so they're really worked on that toy. If they keep going around your hand, just take your hands out of there, stand up, ignore them, and then if that still doesn't work, again, do the timeout. Timeout is only a couple seconds, long enough for them to kind of go, I'm bored. And then you can just let them right back out. So it needs to be a consistent process with that, with teething and stuff, because it's very painful, and we don't want them to grow up into adult dogs and keep doing it. A little bit about car travel. We recommend plastic travel safe crates, not the metal ones, just in case there was a collision or something. The plastic ones are going to be a lot safer. And then also a seat belt or for them in the back seat. You don't want to have your puppy in the front seat, because if an airbag was to go off, their little heads are a little bit closer to that, so it'd be, it could hurt them really bad. So always in the back seat. Different example, car seats for dogs are at, I think, all pet stores. A girl I work with got one from Walmart even. So it's a harness that you can have them attached to the seat belt, and they can't bounce around in your car. So it's safer for you when you're driving. Exercise is extremely important for your sanity and your puppy or dog's sanity. So if you've got a puppy that's chewing on things a lot and just going crazy and won't stop moving, they're not getting enough exercise. You need to get out and get them exercise. Instead of feeding them in a food bowl, one example, I always recommend feeding them in puzzle dispensing things. So like a Kong. A Kong's a really well-known one, but there's a lot of different options. It's just where you put food in something and they have to work their brains to try to figure out how to get their food out. If you just feed them all their food in one bowl, they're scarfing it down and then they're going right back to the bad activity they were doing before. This way they work out their brains, they work out physically trying to get the food out, and you're wearing them down a little bit more. It can only help. Also, if you've got a really high energy dog and you just don't have the time or don't want to go outside, take that food in the bowl. If you've got some like steps or a long hallway, just take piece by piece and throw it. That's going to get them some activity running back and forth to get those pieces of food as well. So then you've got a lot more activity that way. And you just get to sit there and throw things. So it's fun too. But other examples of exercise would be at least 2 10-minute walks off your property. The reason why off your property is because then your puppy's getting more sights, sounds, smells, stuff like that. So it's working out their brain too, and it's physically getting them active outside, outside of your yard. If you can coordinate it, supervised small play groups of the same age or size of dogs or something like that works out well, but definitely I don't recommend taking your puppy to a dog park at least until they're older than 6 months for a couple different reasons. And then go ahead and work on training cues. Anything you want to get your puppy to do, go ahead and work on it, because that's going to give your puppy and you time together. They're going to be learning things that are appropriate to do. So you're teaching 2 different things there, and you're getting them physically active and then their mental activity going too. So very important things to work on. For puppy class, requirements for it are a distemper vaccine and a Bordetella vaccine at least a week before class, and then no sign of illness. So if your puppy, gets up in the morning, vomits, let us know and we'll help you determine if that was okay, if they can come to class, if it wasn't like a contagious thing, or if they need to skip and we need to figure out what's going on. Equipment requirements for class is a standard leather or nylon leash with a collar or harness, whichever one you're working with, or the no-pull head harnesses as well. Those are fine. But things we don't accept in class are retractable leashes. Those actually can help teach your puppy or dog to pull. So they're always getting that little bit of resistance from the reel, but they're always able to get further away from you. So we don't recommend those at all. And then no choke chains or prong collars. They're not necessary. You don't need them. To get your puppy's attention, just say their name or clap or something just to get them to look at you. You don't need those choke chains. And then at least 2 cups of 2 different types of treats. Something that you can break down, again, really small, pea-sized. Maybe bring something they usually get at home, and maybe something a little bit more appetizing, because when they're in a new environment with a whole bunch of people and puppies, they might need a little bit more, a higher level treat to get them to work through things for you. And then you want to wear it in a treat bag worn on your body or in like a hard plastic container. What's happened is sometimes people bring them in like sandwich baggies, leave them on the bench, the puppy eats the whole bag, and then we have to take them back and make them vomit. And that's not fun for us or the puppy. So hard container or a bag on you. These are just some suggested readings if you were interested in learning about more with life with your dog or puppy. You can check them all out at the library, or you can purchase them like at Amazon and stuff like that. Okay, well, that's the end of our video. So if you want to go to that link below the screen there and just fill out that short survey, any questions, or if you want to sign up for class, I will get back with you as soon as I get that response. Thank you very much.